Hi, it's Larry Call, and welcome to Revenue Secrets. I'm here today with Jeff Yates from iWork Zone. And Jeff and I have been talking quite a bit over the past few months about testing in the workplace and the applicability of this for self-employed CEOs. So my initial understanding of testing is that it's primarily an HR instrument. And I hadn't really thought about it in the context of a coach or a consultant or a very, very small business owner, or thinking about things like using it for potential customers to do better service delivery. Just a few examples. So that's what we're going to talk about with Jeff. Jeff, do you want to introduce yourself and your company?
You bet. Thanks, Larry. It's great to be with you. We are a company based out of Austin, Texas. Been around in some form or fashion going back to the mid 80s. We've got a great team of PhDs that are behind all of our science, but my partner and I took it over about 6 years ago. And we're an assessment company by trade. We have a variety of tools. I know I'll talk more about some of those today. Started by working mainly with companies on screening, hiring, training, development. But over the years, have kind of evolved into working with these smaller groups as well, finding some really cool applications.
Sounds good. And as I was doing a little bit of research before our conversation, I realized you're kind of a Renaissance man here. You're a pro golfer.
Yeah. I did it before Tiger Woods was a thing, though, so we didn't make any money when I did it. If you missed the putt on Sunday, you were going home to teach lessons for a month and save money to go back out on the road when I did it. But yes, I had a blast. I put 166,000 miles on a car, traveling all over the country, just playing golf, and had a blast doing that. And then realized I probably should put that degree to use, and so hung up my clubs and went to work.
That sounds like AAA ball.
That's exactly what it was.
And
yes,
like that.
That's exactly what it was. Stayed in some pretty ratty places, there's no doubt.
Yeah. And then I noticed also you owned a bunch of Subways.
I did, yes.
A franchisee.
I was 17 years did that. We had 25 different stores. Subway had a partner that we had some marble slab creameries that we worked on as well. And so when people sit down with me and we talk about, what do you know about screening or hiring or anything like that, if they really want to hear the stories, I could run circles around probably most of the things they've seen, because I saw it all in those 17 years of hiring and firing in that business. There's no doubt.
Is that one of the biggest challenges for a franchisee?
100%. It's the people side of things. And keep in mind, I did it. We sold the majority of the stores back in 2005. And our world is radically different than it was 15 years ago. And hiring, retention has always been a challenge in the food industry. It's for many not considered a career, it's a pass-through, and that's great. But it's a constant deal. In fact, I joked that the reason I sold the stores was because I ran out of fingers. I felt like the little Dutch boy, and I just kept plugging holes, and I didn't have any more fingers, so it was just time to give up.
I think our audience divides into two parts. There's self-employed consultants and coaches and technology service providers that are using some of the things that you do in one way. And then there's small companies. So
Sure.
Maybe we've got a couple of people, maybe there's a few partnerships being established. Maybe they're bringing in salesperson or some kind of a senior executive onto the team. Let's split that out a little bit. Let's talk first about the solopreneur. You want to talk a little bit about testing and how it applies to that sort of a situation?
You bet. So as you well know, there are lots of assessments that are out there that have been around a long time. Myers-Briggs is kind of the grandfather of them, started it all. DISC has been around for a long time, whether that's 4 colors or 4 animals or whatever it is. Those are all forms of DISC, and those have been the primary two for years. Predictive index, certainly another. Today, in this world we live today, everybody's excited about Enneagram and Clifton Strengths, but they all kind of do the same thing. They look at behavior or the way the world sees us. So, every day Larry runs around and people see you in a certain way, but we can coach that, change that, modify that. It can be influenced. And so it's great to know, but it kind of leaves us wanting for more and missing sometimes on understanding people and who they really are. So we have a tool called the Talent Selfie that certainly looks at that aspect, but then we dive into what we call your talent wiring. It's literally the way you're put together on the inside, and it's not going to change. It's who you are on the inside. That's what makes this assessment uniquely different.
So what's the applicability of that then when you get to that understanding of who you are?
Yeah, so when we think about the coaches or the folks that are trying to engage with clients on a different level, they all have a program. You come and offer a program. I have put together this great, amazing way to help you coach through things and run your business in a new way. But there's two things that we see a lot with coaches, especially. One is just finding new opportunities. They can use the Talent Selfie, float it out there, and just have people take the assessment. And that helps them in two ways. One, when you see how that person's wired, before you ever pick up the phone and talk to them, you already know how to present your material to them. If they are a detailed person, then be prepared with a couple of PowerPoint slides and some really black and white facts. If they're more creative, big picture people, then don't give them PowerPoint slides. Talk to them with your hands moving and more animated and more engaged, because that's going to resonate with them. So it starts with that. But I think the most important thing is all these coaches that are out there, they're very well equipped for what they do. They have their own unique ways in which they sell their product. But not everybody's going to fit their program. And so this allows them to actually sort through people that say they're interested in their program and find those that are truly wired to do the program well, because it's going to help them every day with communication, how to talk to them, if they're even going to be willing to stick with the program or they're going to tend to wander off in their own direction.
So what I'm hearing you say is there's really two things you can do with it. One is you can use it to help you from a sales standpoint get more deals closed, create better opportunities, and then on the second front, you can make sure that you have higher quality clients that are going to stick with you.
Yeah, and in the end, your success is based on your history, and especially in that world. And if you can have great testimonials and great examples of success stories, that's what you're looking for. You want to go make a difference in people's lives. And this helps you understand exactly how to communicate with them so that they can go be successful. And so, from a coaching aspect, think of it kind of like a mechanic. A mechanic can look at a car and say, wow, that's a really beautiful red convertible. It's not running right. Oh, I don't know. Let's just drive it around the block and let's polish it and see if it looks better. And we never addressed the problem, right? We never dealt with underneath the hood. And so when you look at somebody and prepare them for the future, if you equip them based on their wiring, raise the hood, forget the color, and dig in, that's really going to help them in the long run. So understanding that unique inner wiring about somebody just changes everything.
So if I'm going to use this for lead generation, then how does that work? How would I do it?
Yeah, so a lot of folks just throw it out there. They even offer it for free, as part of, because we sell a subscription-based model. We don't say you buy the test. We want people just to test unlimited and go use it for things like lead gen, because you're actually offering a benefit. You're offering a value to somebody simply by letting them take it. They're going to get their results. They're going to see, in a controlled environment, how they're wired, what that looks like, whether or not they end up doing business together. You've already offered some value to that person just by throwing that out there. So it's a unique, different way to kind of throw your name out there, whether that's through social media and different outlets that you promote yourself, tie it to your website, do different things like that. you're always coming from a point of contribution. You're giving them something while you're also seeing their results and determining which ones you want to focus on because they really fit your program well.
So are you saying then this could be a lead magnet offer
Absolutely.
to attract people?
Yes, absolutely. We're always curious about how we can make ourselves better, right? I mean, it's whether that's January when our timelines fill up with gym memberships and stretching and fitness programs and all of that, or you do one search on LinkedIn about something with your business and suddenly your timeline fills up with that. We're all curious about how to make ourselves better, and especially the small guys that are out there just fighting it, especially the last year with what we've been through. It's kind of done two things for these solopreneurs, if you will. It's made it more challenging because a lot of people don't want to spend money right now. They're just not sure where the world's going. But at the same time, I would argue it's given them more exposure than they ever would have had otherwise, because we're doing so many virtual networking groups and we're meeting people, not just next door or where we go, meet for a local networking group. We're meeting people all over the country. And so it's a great way to get exposure and meet people anywhere you are. So it's been a really interesting time, but it's, I think, creating some really cool opportunity.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And as I think about this, my brain's just churning around different ideas about on the ground how you would execute on a program like this. And I think it would be an interesting idea to bundle it into with a few other components. So in other words, if I'm doing some kind of a lead generation program and I'm putting an offer out in the market through an outbound email or a LinkedIn post or some kind of an ad, however I'm using it, I could take a couple other components of my offering, like I could do a really quick, business assessment in the context of doing a profile for a partnership, and see how they work together and try to relate that back to their business and give that as sort of an offer to somebody for free. Is that the kind of thing that you're talking about?
Absolutely. I mean, every coach has kind of their own nuance or what they bring to the table, but no matter what that is, understanding, who you're dealing with, how they're going to understand the material that you're giving them. I love your thought that, a lot of these folks write books or they create new programs or they have certain little, catchphrases they use, whatever it might be. You really could have some fun creating a bundled offer that gives them, not only some of these tricks to the trade that you differentiate yourself with, you can also bring them some unique other perspectives about themselves, why they respond in certain situations, why they react the way they do. You can really help somebody. And when you start the conversation that way, where you haven't come in there and said, hey, give me something, but let me give you something. You start from that point of contribution, that's building a relationship. And that's critical because in the end, we still want to do business with people we know, like, and trust. And if you come to me and start by saying, let me just help you with a few things, let me give you something, now I'm more interested in working with you versus, hey, thanks for connecting. I'd like to sell you this tool real quick. And we see a lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for a small business or people with a couple employees or at the point where they want to scale, what's the more, let's say, contemporary modern approach to using this sort of tool?
Sure. So I love that question because we're used to working with everything from large companies, Sally Beauty, BMW North America, all the way down to the coaches like we've talked about. But I would tell you those small companies, the 2, 3, 4, 5 employees, up to 10 employees, hiring the wrong person is far more devastating to them than it is to a big company. Because when a big company makes a bad hire, they shove them out the door. Somebody else takes on the responsibility for a little while, ups the workload, and they move on. But in a small business, it's a family. You live together. You work together all day, every day. And so when you're adding someone to that team, it's so vital to understand how that culture is today, how the owner's wired, how the other two people are wired, and then how is this new person going to plug in? How do they fit? And so that's our favorite project because, that's really where they can look at somebody and say, all right, I'm looking for this position. Here's the resume. All right, that's great. We got to keep in mind resumes are written to basically regurgitate history and experience because that's all it is. So you're going to tell me what I want to hear on the resume. You're likely going to say the right things in the interview. Those are still necessary parts of the process. But if you can understand truly the wiring of that person, how they plug in, are they even capable of doing what we need you to do, and how do they complement the team? Now we're off and running. So that's a critical piece to this project.
Sounds great, Jeff. Thanks for all the information. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd want to add?
You know what? It's great to be here. Thanks for the opportunity to talk. We love to help people, and so whether it's the opportunity to do business with people, or if it's just to talk about the stuff, just like you and I talked today, always happy to do that.
Sounds good. And is there any particular offer you can put out for someone who's interested in this?
Yeah, you bet. Anybody that's interested in learning more, we're happy to send them a link. They can try the talent selfie, no cost. We'll do a full analysis of it. We'll even, if they get a couple of people that they want to look at together as a team, we'll be happy to send them a link and then do a quick call with them and show them those results. And if nothing else, we've met a new friend and they got to learn a little bit about themselves.
Great. So for anybody who's interested, just go down below and click the link and you'll be able to get in touch with Jeff and get a free assessment. I did it. It was incredibly helpful. And I've taken millions of these tests, but it gave me another perspective that was very valuable on some things that I hadn't really thought about before. So thanks again, Jeff. I really appreciate you joining, and hope everybody got something out of this.
Awesome. Thanks, Larry.
Thanks for listening. If you're self-employed and tired of not having enough great clients, join our free Revenue Climber Club. Click salessherpa.co for details and to sign up for the community. Stop climbing alone and reach the summit together with us.